The old man. Morning turned to afternoon and night, and Pedro's mind kept raging, spinning between anger and despair, and clear moments when he tried desperately to find some idea, some plot on how to get out of all of this. It was completely dark, and the house had gone quiet when he heard the footsteps. Even though he knew what was to come, the flash of bright light that came into the room when the old man entered hurt his eyes. It took a while for him to adjust to it. He scrambled to his feet, almost hurting his head on the ceiling again. The old man had the same condescending look Pedro had learned to hate in his childhood. The lines on his face had deepened, and he was leaning on a stick, but his eyes were of the same intimidating, intelligent brightness, anger always ready to blitz out of them. Next to him, another man came in, lazily leaning on the wall, and crossed his arms. He looked strangely familiar, a little younger than Pedro, but he could not really place him. "So, young man, it has been quite a while since you've been here last, isn't it?" Pedro stared at the old man, waiting. "Do you understand why I had to put you here this time?" The same question. He had heard it as a boy countless times. He dug his fingernails into the skin of his palm, trying to keep his head from slipping back into that time. "You are 32 years old. You are not a boy. You have negotiated in worse circumstances. Keep your composure." "Speak to me, boy." "Why should I?" "You will tell me anyway. You have always been so very happy to tell me everything I was doing wrong. So please, go ahead." "Don't be an insolent boy." Pedro waited. He could be patient. He would not enter in the same argument he could never win anyway. "Are you going to talk to me?" "No." "No, sir." "I don't tend to show respect when it is not earned. Just tell me what you have to say and leave it be." "Fine. Bargain is easy. You reaffirm our previous agreement in a legally binding way, and you're free to go. There's even a guest room prepared for you if you choose to spend the rest of the week here. We can get over all of this much more pleasantly if you comply. You will have to comply eventually, so why not sleep comfortably and eat?" "I won't." "You will, boy, and if I force you at gunpoint. But well enough, you have always been a stubborn fool. Then you'll be my guest down here. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable." The old man turned around, ready to leave. "And make sure you're not hurting those hands again. We don't want to give a bad impression on Saturday, do we?" "And who's that, shadowing you?" "Oh, you don't know. I thought your memory was better." "Luke Camden." The other man seemed as annoyed with the old man's games as Pedro was. "I believe you knew me as a boy." Pedro nodded curtly. "It's Lieutenant Camden. Can you believe it, boy? As far as I understand, in this military world of yours, this makes him your superior, doesn't it?" "If he cares for my respect, he'll earn it." "Be careful what you say, boy. There are a lot of ways to hurt someone that will not interfere with the ceremony, and he knows most of them." Ah. Pedro knew them too, and he did not care to experience them. Camden gave him a blank stare. "Out now. I'll be back tomorrow. See if you changed your mind." Not long after the old man left, the door creaked open again, and a flickering candlelight shone on him. In the door there was the figure of a maid, balancing a tray in one hand and a candle in the other. "You?" Pedro was startled when he heard the echoing clash of the tray hitting the ground and water splashing on his feet and trousers. Looking closer at the maid's face, he recognized her. Poppy, what are you doing here? Damn, I needed that water. The rather plump girl he had known when he was 13 had grown into a tall and lanky woman with a haggard face. But she had the same dark hair and was obviously still as clumsy as she had always been. She ducked fearfully. I'm awfully sorry, sir. I will get you another glass right away. I'm afraid you'll have to make do with the bread. It's counted. She fled the room and left him feeling sorry for having lashed out. Poppy was a year older than Pedro. She had become a maid in Danforth Manor at 11 years old. Pedro had not thought much of it at first. It was the way things were. He had just wondered sometimes about the girl looking exceptionally frightened. She seemed quite clumsy as well. Then, one day, he had seen her being beaten. He did not care for that at all, but there was not much to be done. One day he was studying in the library while she dusted. A vase crashed down from one of the shelves. One he'd particularly been warned never to touch. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. When Pedro saw her eyes frozen in shock, he knew he had to do something. She would be punished terribly for this, while the worst that could happen to him was another day in the cellar. And he had grown quite used to this by now. He rushed over, told her to hide behind the rows of shelves, and took the blame when the furious housekeeper came rushing in. He had taken a beating from the old man that day, and then been sent to the cellar overnight. When everything had grown silent in the house, the girl had sneaked in, presented him with the cookies she had stolen from the kitchen, and said shyly, "If you ever need anything, I will do whatever I can to help you." This had been the beginning of a strange kind of friendship he had long forgotten. She had brought him something every time he had been sent to the cellar, and listened to his ever-evolving plans of escape. Poppy came back with another pitcher of water, and a rag to mop up the mess. She seemed to avoid looking at him, while she nervously picked up the broken pieces and then looked doubtingly at the bread, lying on the floor in a water puddle. "Just give it to me, it's better than nothing." "But you shouldn't." "I am a soldier. I have had worse during the war. I will make do." She hesitatingly picked it up and reached it over to him. "I'll try and sneak something more from the kitchen next time." "Don't put yourself at risk." She nodded. "I won't be able to help you get out this time, sir. He'll kill me if I tell anyone you're here. I'll be here tomorrow evening with another tray." She turned around, wanting to go. He needed to find a way to convince her to stay, at least talk to him. Maybe she could sneak out a message, maybe even help him escape. "Poppy, wait. Did they forbid you talking to me as well?" "No, sir, not explicitly." "Then will you talk to me?" "I'd rather not." "What is it I've done?" "Well," she took a deep breath, "did it ever occur to you that you were not the only one wanting to flee this place? You did it, sir, while I had no chance." "Seems like my chance was only temporary, though." "And you are already thinking about how to escape again, while not sparing a single thought about what that might do to me and my children." "You have children now?" "A girl. Well, she's a young woman now, and 2 boys, 12 and 14. I want them to study and get somewhere in this world. I must keep this position for them. I can't lose it." "And the father?" She looked away for a long moment. "What did you want to know, sir?" So she didn't want to talk about that. Pedro calculated rapidly. She must have been awfully young when having her first child. I'm sorry. If you could just keep your ears open while you work in the house. Who is there? If anything unusual happens, visits, meeting, whatever you can find out, it could help." "There's the young lady. She arrived yesterday with Mr. MacArthur. Her godmother is to arrive tomorrow. She's here? She wasn't supposed to be there. He had sent a telegram with the news. How is she? How should I know? She's a lady. She won't confide in me, of course. No, but was she smiling, laughing, pale, serious? Rather pale, if you ask me. Was asking after young Mr. Danforth and seemed quite disappointed when she was told that he was still in London, business keeping him there. She gave him a challenging look he decided not to accept. Thank you. He would not get much more information out of her for now. When will you be coming next? They told me to bring a tray each night after supper. Damn, that was a long time before his next meal. I'll sneak out earlier if I can. No, you won't. It's no good risking your position just for food. I will make do. He would. There had been times when he'd have to walk for days with very few supplies before making it back to the British lines. He trained that. He just needed to keep his head straight and find a way to strike at the right moment. He should be able to accomplish as much.